Hi, my name is Sharon Kocina. I'm a therapist in Boulder, Colorado, and I am talking today about self-soothing techniques. A lot of my clients deal with anxiety. Do you? Today we're going to talk about what some of those triggers might be, the anxiety triggers, and different ways you can help yourself, and then things to avoid, because sometimes we do things we think will help and they really aren't helpful. So when I talk about anxiety, I think it's important to know a little bit about the nervous system first. So we've got a couple of parts of the nervous system, and what I'm going to talk about is very basic in the nervous system. There's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the part that revs up. The parasympathetic is the one that comes in and says, it's okay to calm down, and helps you calm down. So when you think about that, the anxiety you're feeling is from the sympathetic nervous system, and the calming techniques help the parasympathetic nervous system calm. So anxiety triggers, it can be so many things, and I'll talk about some, but there's a lot more, and some are very specific to your situation that I may not list here, but it doesn't mean it's not a trigger for you. Lately, with the hurricanes, weather, rain, floods, especially here in the Front Range in Colorado, with the awful flooding we had in 2013, even when it just rains, some people get scared. That can be an anxiety trigger. Speaking in front of other people, research says that actually the #1 fear people have is public speaking. Now that can be talking in front of big groups, or it can be just standing up in a small group and introducing yourself. For a lot of people, that creates anxiety. Flying, I've helped people with flying anxiety. Just the thought of getting on an airplane, boy, that can really ramp them up. Driving in traffic and whether it be that rain or snow, people get very nervous, especially in dense areas. Some people, I have some clients who just won't drive there. Doing this video for me is anxiety producing. Abuse, some people have suffered abuse, survived abuse. And so different triggers for the abuse could be the thought of that person coming home, or they're starting to drink and that's when they get violent, whether that's physical, emotional, or sexually violent. There's different ways. And then anticipating those triggers, any of these triggers, just even thinking about what that trigger might be can be anxiety provoking. So that's a whole nother depth. Is you might have anxiety triggers, but then you get anxious about feeling anxious. And then you could even get anxious about feeling anxious about feeling anxious. I'm not going further, but just know I help people like that. Current events, reading the newspaper, watching the news, listening to the news, that can really get people stressed out, and that can be anything from the current political situation to climate change, what's happening locally. Any of those things can be very stressful. Weather events can be very stressful, and sometimes people are just it's almost like it's an addiction to know more and more, and that actually ramps you up. A lot of people struggle with money, with finances. Of course, that's anxiety provoking. Relationships, are your in-laws coming to stay with you, or did that special someone just break up with you, or are you thinking about breaking up with somebody else? And a whole myriad of issues around relationships. Sleep. I help a lot of people with sleep issues, and one of the first things that we work on is the anxiety they feel about going to sleep before they're even in bed. So those are just some of the triggers. So now that I've stressed you out with all of those anxiety triggers, I'm going to teach you some calming techniques, some ways to self-soothe. One of the first things I teach clients is deep belly breathing. And I can imagine you're thinking, I breathe all the time, what do I need to know? And a lot of people actually think they deep breathe, and some people do it really well, and some people, we need to tweak it a little bit. So let me show you what I teach. First, I'm going to move up a little bit so that I can get a good posture, because it's really important to have this straight when you're doing it. Some people do this better sitting up. I like it better laying down. It's just more comfortable for me. I'm going to put my hand on my belly here. It's actually where the diaphragm is. Actually, let me teach you a little bit about this. So here are the lungs, and here's the diaphragm. It's here. And so when you take in a deep breath and you do this belly breathing, the diaphragm actually, it kind of expands out, but it also gets thinner. It pancakes out, and that gives your lungs more room. And then when you exhale, you want to use the diaphragm to expel that air. So first, in the way that I'm teaching you in inhaling, is it's going to give your lungs more room to take in air. And then you're going to hold for a count of 2, and then you're going to use your diaphragm, and these muscles in here are called the intercostal muscles, and you're going to use all of those muscles to expel the air. So what you're going to do is inhale as slowly as you can, hold it for a count of 2, and then exhale as slowly as you can. Remember, this is a skill, so this takes practice. So what I'm going to do, what it looks like, is I'm going to put my hand here because that gives me the feedback for the diaphragm. So I'm going to take a deep breath. Now take a moment and try that on your own. And maybe take a second one. Do you notice how you might feel a little calmer? With that 2 seconds wait in between inhaling and exhaling, it just slows down your physiology. So if this is a new practice for you, try doing this once a day, and maybe before bedtime to help you relax for bed. And just do it a couple of times and see how it feels. You can do this anywhere, and once you get the hang of this, if you're sitting in a meeting or somewhere you're feeling anxious, nobody knows you're doing it, because you'll get used to it and you won't necessarily have to put your hand on your belly. And then one additional thing is that some people actually get more feedback doing it from here. Try this yourself and see what works for you. Another one that once I explain is going to make sense, but at first it's going to sound funny, is holding your thumb. So you just take your thumb and grab your thumb and just hold it. So if you think about it, babies suck their thumbs. There's something in the thumb. Acupuncturists, I'm sure you know what it is, but there's a point in the thumb that actually is calming. Try that. So Peter Levine is one of our trauma gurus, and I was watching a video of his the other day, and he talks about a hug. And what it is, it's a little different. It's about putting your hand right here in your armpit on one side, and then putting your other hand on your shoulder and just holding yourself and giving yourself a hug. That helps give you a sense of boundaries. And boundaries, believe it or not, actually help people calm and feel good. I know a lot of people don't believe that boundaries do that, but they really do. Another kind of hug is hugging somebody else. If you can go like right side to right side, I call that a heart hug. If you can hold that 30 to 60 seconds, you'll feel yourself just calm. It's this amazing, yummy feeling. Do it with somebody you like, otherwise it may not be such a, otherwise it may not be such a yummy feeling. Grounding is really important. That's the other thing that I help people learn right off. Okay. So take a deep breath. Yeah, I'm headless right now. Take a deep breath. And I want you to breathe up through the earth, into the floor, into your feet, up your legs, into your torso. And then exhale the opposite way. And take a few breaths like that. It's most helpful if both feet are on the ground. Another thing, if you have ever done yoga, it's called downward dog. Okay, so I'm doing it.
This is what downward dog can look like. I'm not a yoga pro, but that's not what's important here.
What's important is the grounding. Now, if you can't get down on the ground, let me show you a modified yoga position. So if it's getting down to the floor is hard for you in that downward dog position, there's a modification you can make. And I had to do this when I was pregnant with my kids because I was very pregnant. So what you do is you do your feet flat on the floor and your arms up, if you can do it at a 90 degree, and just do this. So breathe from your butt down into the floor and also from your butt across your back and into the wall. And that will help with your grounding. So hopefully you can find it and see if yoga is something for you. Yoga in general is helpful because it helps you get into your body. And when somebody's feeling anxious, they're really in their head a lot. So again, that grounding in yoga is really helpful. Another tool that I teach a lot to clients is tapping. And it's different tapping than you may have heard of. It's something that I learned from EMDR and brain spotting. What we know is that when you alternate hemispheres of the brain, your brain reprocesses. So what I've done in teaching this to clients, just a very simple practice of alternating things, is tapping. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you go, it's just about alternating hemispheres of the brain. You can do on your legs, you can do, some people like this, it's called a butterfly hug. If I'm sitting on a chair with arms, I can just move my fingers left, right, left, right, left, right. It just looks like a nervous habit. So if you're around other people, nobody knows what you're doing. You can do fist pumps, or with your feet, you can tap your feet, right? Or if you've got shoes, closed-toed shoes on, squeeze these toes, squeeze these toes, squeeze these toes. I'm doing it right now and you wouldn't know unless I told you. I'm doing left, right, left, right, left, right. And so there's a lot of ways to do it that you can calm yourself if you're around other people and nobody else will know. Or when you're by yourself. So that's tapping. Another thing is aromatherapy. Often with clients who are anxious, I'll first ask them if it's okay to have a smell in the room, and I'll use aromatherapy. This is lavender, and people can put it on them, but I don't usually offer that. If that's something they want, they can ask. But just having it open in the room just helps people calm. If you're on your own and you're trying to help take care of yourself, just smell it. Or the way to use this is you just tap one drop into your hand, use the middle finger of your other hand, go around in about 3 circles, and then put it on you in what makes sense to you. So tune into yourself. Might be on your neck. Sometimes I think it's nice to put it on my heart. The place that goes in the fastest is on the carotid artery. Some people put things on their forehead or on the back of your neck. For calming, it's also really nice to put it on the underside of the feet. There are a couple of well-known companies, and then there are also less well-known companies. Young Living is one that's well-known in the community. It's been an advocate for very clean, pure essential oils for a long time. Another one is doTERRA. For those two, you need to find somebody who sells those. Those aren't things that you can just go to the store. But some people find that they can be allergic to impurities in the less pure oils. And there are lots of resources on how to use essential oils. One that I have in my office tells me about different blends. This one works specifically with Young Living blends because different companies will put together different oils. Like Young Living has one called Peace and Calming, and that one's a very nice one, again, for relaxation. So just go to your local bookstore, go on the internet, and browse for books for essential oils. One technique that I've learned early on in my career was progressive relaxation. And that's one where you start taking a couple of deep cleansing belly breaths. And you start down at your feet. And you squeeze your foot tight, 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 and relax. Let go. Take a deep breath. And then go up into your calves and tighten it, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it. And let go. And you go up to your thighs and you do that. And you do that on your buttock and your pelvic floor, your torso, your shoulders, your hands, your arms, your neck, your face, and your head. And in between each of these, take a cleansing breath. And then after, when you're done, take a few more breaths and just feel that relaxation. And try to calm yourself. Self-talk is a really good thing. We all have this critical voice in our heads. Even the most calm, put-together people have this critical voice. And what I talk to people about is self-talk. Talk back to that critical voice. That critical voice has probably adapted over the years and helped you get through a lot of things. Talk back to that critical voice. So a prescription that I talk about with people is empathize first. There's a reason you're feeling what you're feeling. Next, thank that voice, that critical voice. It's kept you safe a lot of times. It's saved you from things. And then let it know that you're wanting to do something different and let it know what's different for you or what's really going on for you now. So for example, I get nervous making these videos. So how I might talk to myself is say, of course you're nervous. You're concerned that you won't be able to think of what you want to say, or you won't look the way you want to look. So of course you're feeling nervous. And I'm going to thank that nervousness, that critical voice going, are you sure you want to do this? Maybe you're not good for it. Is saying, thank you so much for making me think ahead of time about what I want to say so that I can do this better. That voice has kept me from making a fool of myself sometimes. And let it know that, no, I really do know what I'm talking about, and I've made a list of things that I want to talk about and gone over it in my mind. Now, self-talk, some people need to say it to themselves. Some people want to say it out loud. If you're by yourself, you can obviously do either. If you're in a room with other people, this is a really great tool because nobody knows whether somebody's on the other side of this. So if I'm doing my self-talk, of course you're nervous. They don't know that you know what you're talking about, and it's kept you from making a fool of yourself. See, nobody knows that I'm talking to nobody on my phone. Talking to others. What we've found, research has found, is that connection is huge, and that people who have relationships with others, good solid relationships, live longer and are happier. So if when you're distressed, if there's somebody you trust and can connect with, talk to them. If they're not available, again, there's that tool. You know what they're like. You know what it feels like to talk to them. Pretend they're on the other line and talk to them. One factor in our lives that is really easy to dismiss, but I think is large as far as anxiety triggers, is the media. We are on a 24-hour news cycle. The talking heads have to talk about something for 24 hours. So they may say the same things over and over and over again. Or you may hear it on the news at noon and then turn onto the news at 10 o'clock and hear the same thing over and over again. And then you open your newspaper if you read paper newspapers, or pull out your phone and read the news on your phone or your computer, and you're getting the same things over and over again. I strongly encourage that if the news is sparking anxiety in you, I strongly suggest a media diet. If you're going to watch the news, just watch it once. If you're reading the newspaper, scan the headlines and see if it's something that you want to read or not read. And if you don't want to read it,
don't read it. Just turn the page or go to the next article. Our kids also have a lot of screen time. It's hard to know as a parent sometimes whether they're doing homework or whether they're playing Minecraft. It's really important as parents for us to know what the kids are doing online and to shorten that screen time if we can. And some experts say an hour of screen time a day is a good amount for kids. More than that can affect their nervous systems. And as kids find with their growing brains, that can affect their nervous system to where they have a hard time calming themselves. And I even have some clients where the kids get violent when they can't have screen time. If that's an issue for you, call me and let's work through that. Anxiety and fear are about the future. So if you can ground yourself in the right here, right now, present moment. I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling scared. Right now, I'm okay. Right now, I've got a roof over my head, I've got food, I'm safe. Right now, I'm okay. Just ground yourself in that present moment as much as you need to. And hopefully that helps you with the fear and anxiety. Exercise is a very good approach to working with anxiety. It's when you exercise, your brain releases endorphins and GABA and other really good chemicals into your brain that help calm your body. Chamomile tea or other teas are also really good for you. Drinking them hot is good because it helps you slow down. Sometimes in the summer I'll make some chamomile tea and pour it over ice, but then I can slam that down. If I'm drinking it hot, then I have to take the time to drink slowly. So that gives me time to just relax. Meditation has also been documented through the research to be very calming for the body. If you want to meditate, there are plenty of places, especially in the Boulder area, to learn meditation. If you're not in the Boulder area, go online. See what resources are available online for you. Go to your bookstore. Lots of places to do meditation. And meditation also helps you with that present moment piece and the breathing and getting into your body. If you're somebody who likes warm baths can be really relaxing. You can combine aromatherapy, put a little lavender in your water, bath water. You can light some nice candles. So just really relax. So those are things you can do to calm your body. But then there are things, I call them the anti-calms, boom, 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 right? These are the things that you may think help but don't really. Caffeine. Caffeine is in coffee, black teas, white teas, green teas, sodas, the energy drinks. Chocolate also has caffeine in them. Now, caffeine for some people serve a purpose, but if you deal with anxiety, it may not be your friend. So if you're going to have caffeine and you deal with anxiety, have it before noon. But really notice in your body how caffeine affects you. Alcohol and drugs. You may think, oh, I'll just have a little beer and chill. Well, alcohol is actually a nervous system depressant and can make things worse. Like sugar, which I'll talk about in a minute, if this is kind of your normal state and you take, if you drink or caffeine or sugar, any of these will give you a spike, but then you'll go down below and it takes a while to come back, and then actually that can compound itself because some people then go, oh, I need more sugar, I need more caffeine, so they'll drink another one or eat another candy bar, and then they crash down even farther. Not a great idea. Addictive behaviors, eating, shopping, they may feel good at the moment, but are you really calming yourself, or are you just compounding your problems? Sugar, I just talked about. Avoiding calming behaviors is kind of an anti-calm. Even though you know some of the things may be good for you, for some reason we just don't want to do them. Not so helpful. and screen times, as I mentioned. But also most screens have what's called a blue light in them, and those are known to excite the brain. And so if you're having issues with anxiety, really watch your screen time. Now, one thing I do want to mention is some people, not a lot of people, but some people have paradoxical reactions. For instance, my son, when he has caffeine, it actually calms him. So know that if you have a paradoxical reaction, just work with things. Of course, all of these things work for a lot of people, but they don't work for everyone. So try things and see what works. A lot of these tips will be all you need. But if you need more, call a therapist. Schedule a session with a therapist. If you don't know how to find a therapist in your area, there are a lot of great online resources like Psychology Today. Just Google therapists in your area. Different types of therapy. There's talk therapy, which can help with meaning making. Or I do something called brain spotting, which is a nonverbal form of therapy that gets down into where the energy and trauma is stored in the brain, where the anxiety is stored in the brain. I'd be happy to talk to you more about that, or check out any of my other YouTube videos on brain spotting. Again, I'm Sharon Kocina, and I hope this has helped you. I am in the Boulder area. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm happy to help you. If you want to call and come in for a session, give me a call. The phone number is listed below. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Take care. Be well.